The room goes quiet, so suddenly it feels violent. Crystal glasses freeze in midair. A laugh dies halfway out of someone's mouth. Even the soft jazz playing from hidden speakers seems to pull back, like it knows it no longer belongs. All eyes turn at once, drawn by the weight of a single sentence that has just been thrown into the air and left there to rot. The black waitress stands near the center table, a silver tray balanced perfectly in her hands. Her posture is straight. Her shoulders are relaxed. Her face gives nothing away. But the millionaire's voice still echoes off the glass walls of the penthouse, sharp and careless, loud enough that no one could pretend they didn't hear it. Maybe if you people paid attention, he says with a thin smile, you wouldn't be serving drinks for a living. The words land hard. A fork slips from someone's fingers and clinks against a porcelain plate. A woman near the window sucks in her breath. Another guest looks down at his napkin, suddenly fascinated by the crease in the fabric. No one speaks. No one moves. No one steps in. The waitress blinks once. Slowly. It's not the blink of someone about to cry. It's the blink of someone who has learned how to hold a moment still. She lowers her eyes, not in shame, but in restraint. Years of discipline settle quietly in her chest. Years of knowing when silence is safer than truth. She has heard words like this before. Different rooms. Different faces. Same tone. Same belief that money gives permission. This is a private charity gala, held high above the city in a glass-walled penthouse that glows like a jewel against the night sky. Down below, traffic crawls. People rush home. Lives unfold unnoticed. Up here, power gathers around linen-covered tables and polished shoes. Money breathes here. It laughs here. It congratulates itself here. And tonight, humiliation has been invited as entertainment. The millionaire leans back in his chair, pleased with himself. He lifts his glass slightly, as if expecting approval. His cufflinks catch the light. His watch costs more than most people's cars. He thinks he has just reminded everyone of the natural order of things. Who serves, who sits, who speaks, who stays quiet. He believes this moment belongs to him. The waitress does not apologize. That alone sends a ripple through the room. She gently lowers the tray onto a nearby table, careful not to make a sound. Each glass stays upright. Nothing spills. Her hands do not shake. She smooths the front of her uniform, straightens the collar, and breathes once, deep and steady. When she lifts her head, her face is calm, almost serene. And then, for the briefest moment, she looks directly at him, not with anger, not with fear. There is no challenge in her eyes, no plea, just calm, deep, unbothered. That look unsettles him. He feels it before he understands it. A small shift in his chest, a flicker of irritation. He tells himself it's nothing, just a waitress forgetting her place for half a second. He smirks and takes a sip of his drink, but the taste is suddenly wrong. Too sharp. Around them, the guests begin to move again, slowly, awkwardly, like people waking from a bad dream. Conversations restart in low whispers. Someone laughs too loudly at a joke that isn't funny. The band resumes playing, softer now, unsure of itself. The waitress steps back into her role with practiced ease. She turns, walks toward another table, and offers a polite smile to a couple who won't meet her eyes. As she pours wine, she hears the murmurs trailing behind her. That was uncalled for. Did you hear what he said? She handled that well. Well, this is how things are. The words brush past her like a cold draft. She has learned not to let them settle. At the head of the table, the millionaire continues talking, louder than before. He tells a story about a deal he closed last year, about how discipline separates winners from losers. He jokes about people who lack ambition. He gestures with his glass, performing confidence, feeding on the attention of those who nod along. Every few seconds, his eyes flick in her direction. He doesn't know why he keeps checking. Something about the way she stood there unbroken has irritated him more than tears ever would have. He wants confirmation that his words landed, that they did damage. But she moves through the room like someone untouched. Near the bar, a younger guest watches her closely. He's new to this world, invited because of his family name, not his comfort. He noticed the way she held herself, The way the insult slid off her without changing her pace. Something about it doesn't add up. The manager of the event hurries over to her near the service corridor. His face is tight with worry. He speaks in a low voice, careful not to draw attention. He apologizes without really apologizing. He asks if she's okay. He asks if she wants to step outside for a moment. She smiles at him, not the smile she gives guests. A softer one. Reassuring. "I'm fine," she says. Her voice is steady. "I'll finish my shift." That answer confuses him, but he nods and moves on. There's too much money in this room to slow things down for feelings. Back at the table, the millionaire laughs again, this time telling a story about his first job, exaggerating his struggle, polishing it until it shines like a trophy. He talks about starting from nothing, about grit, about how anyone can make it if they try hard enough. The waitress passes behind him, close enough to hear every word. She remembers nights that didn't come with applause, rooms without chandeliers, decisions made quietly without witnesses. She remembers learning that sometimes the best way to see people clearly is to let them believe you are invisible. As she reaches into the table, the millionaire snaps his fingers, sharp and impatient. The sound cuts through the room again. Heads turn. "Hey!" he says, not looking at her at first. "Another bottle, and try not to drop it this time." A few people chuckle. Nervous, uncomfortable, complicit. She stops, turns, meets his eyes again. "Yes, sir," she says politely, and for a moment, the room holds its breath, because there is something in her tone now. Not defiance, not anger, certainty. What no one in that penthouse knows, what no one could imagine, is that this moment has been circling toward him for years. That this room, this insult, this careless display of power is not the beginning of the story. It's the setup, and as she walks away to retrieve the bottle, calm as ever, the millionaire has no idea that the ground beneath his confidence has already started to crack. In just a few minutes, the roles in this room will shift, and everything he believes about power is about to collapse. The gala continues, but something fragile has cracked, and everyone feels it. The laughter sounds thinner now, stretched too tight. Conversations start and stop in awkward bursts. Glasses clink a little louder than necessary, like people are trying to prove they're still comfortable. But the air has changed. It presses down on the room, heavy and watchful. The black waitress moves from table to table with the same calm rhythm, but whispers trail behind her like a shadow. Some guests glance up, then quickly look away when she meets their eyes. Others stare openly, studying her face, her posture, her silence. They are waiting for something. A tear, a tremble, a crack. It never comes. The millionaire notices this attention and mistakes it for permission. "Hey!" he calls out again, snapping his fingers sharply, the sound cutting to the low hum of the room. "Bring another bottle, and try not to drop it this time." A nervous chuckle ripples through the crowd. It's weak, forced, the kind of laugh people give when they don't want to be the next target. A few smiles appear, then fade just as fast. No one meets the waitress's eyes. She turns toward him calmly. No rush, no hesitation. "Of course, sir," she says, polite and even, as if nothing has happened at all. That composure irritates him. It shouldn't, but it does. He wanted a reaction. He wanted proof that his words landed. Instead, she gives him professionalism, control, silence. It feels like defiance dressed up as manners. Behind the scenes, near the service corridor, the manager hurries toward her, his steps quick and uneven. He lowers his voice, eyes darting back toward the tables. "I'm so sorry," he whispers. "He's important. Just get through the night, okay? We'll handle it later." She looks at him and smiles. Not a bright smile, not a fake one. A strange smile, peaceful. "It's fine," she says softly. "I'll finish my shift." Her calm unsettles him more than anger ever could. He nods, unsure what else to do, and rushes off. In rooms like this, schedules matter more than dignity. Back at the main table, the millionaire launches into a story, his voice loud, confident, polished by years of being listened to. He talks about his early days, about struggle, about discipline. about how he earned everything he has. He paints himself as proof that the system works, that success is simply a matter of effort. People always talk about fairness, he says with a grin. But the truth is, life rewards those who push harder, who refuse to settle. He gestures vaguely toward the room, his glass sloshing slightly. Some people rise. He continues. Others get comfortable serving. A few people nod along. Others shift in their seats. The words land differently now, sharper, more exposed. Each sentence cuts, not because it wounds her, but because it reveals him, his need to feel superior, his hunger for validation, his fear, buried deep. That respect might not be permanent. The waitress passes behind him, close enough to hear every word. Her face remains neutral. Her steps stay measured. Inside, she feels nothing he expects. No anger, no shame, just clarity. She sees him clearly now, stripped of the polish. A man performing power because he is afraid of losing it. At a nearby table, a young guest watches her closely. He's new to these spaces, still learning the unspoken rules. Something about her doesn't match the role she's playing. Her movements are too deliberate, her stillness too complete. She looks like someone who belongs everywhere and nowhere at the same time. When she returns to the bottle, the millionaire pushes his chair back and stands. He raises his glass high, commanding the room again. To ambition, he announces, to knowing your place and fighting your way out of it. The room quiets, unsure whether this is a toast or a warning. Some people rise. He says, I scan in the tables. Others, he pauses, smiling thinly, stay where they belong. This time, the silence is heavier. It doesn't rush to fill itself. It lingers, because the waitress doesn't step away. She stands there, the bottle still in her hand, her posture straight. She doesn't flinch. She doesn't look down. She doesn't move behind him like she's supposed to. She stays exactly where she is. The millionaire notices. His smile falters for half a second. Well, he says, irritated. Go on. She takes a breath. Slow. Steady. The room feels smaller now, like the walls have moved closer. Sir, she says softly, her voice calm but clear. May I say something? A few heads snap up. Someone shifts uncomfortably. The young guest leans forward without realizing it. The millionaire laughs, a short, dismissive sound. This should be good, he says, waving a hand as if granting permission to a child. He doesn't know it yet, but he has just handed her the microphone. She doesn't rush. She sets the bottle down carefully on the table. The sound of glass touching wood is louder than it should be. She folds her hands in front of her and looks around the room, meeting eyes one by one. Not accusing, not pleading, just present. For the first time that night, the attention in the room shifts completely. The millionaire waits, still standing, still confident, still convinced he's in control. He expects an apology, maybe a thank you, maybe silence after a failed attempt at courage. What he doesn't expect is the feeling creeping up his spine, the sense that something is slipping, that the game he thought he was playing might not be his after all. The waitress looks back at him, calm as ever. Her expression doesn't change, but something in the room does. And as she opens her mouth to speak, the air tightens, every guest suddenly aware that whatever comes next will not be easy to forget. The room holds its breath, because power is about to be tested, and not everyone will survive it the same way. She reaches into her pocket slowly, with no rush and no drama, as if this moment has been waiting patiently for her rather than the other way around. The movement is small, almost forgettable, but it pulls the room tighter than a hell breath. Conversations stop again. Forks pause halfway to mouths. Eyes narrow. The kind of silence that only comes when something important is about to happen settles over the penthouse. She places a sleek black card on the table. It doesn't slide. It doesn't flip. It lands flat, deliberate, resting between the millionaire's glass and his folded napkin. The card is simple. No flashy logo. No bright color. Just clean edges and quiet confidence. The room leans in without realizing it. The millionaire lets out a laugh, short and sharp, the sound of someone who believes they are still in control. What's that? He asks, lifting an eyebrow. A tip card. A few people chuckle out of habit. then stop. Something in her posture tells him not to. Her voice doesn't rise. It doesn't shake. It doesn't rush to defend itself. "That's my company's access card," she says calmly. The words hang there, suspended. For a moment, no one understands what they mean. Confusion ripples through the room like a slow wave. The manager, who has just stepped back into view, freezes mid-step. His face drains a color. His eyes lock onto the card as if it might bite. The millionaire's smile falters, just slightly. "Your company?" he repeats, still amused, still dismissive, but something in his tone shifts. She keeps her eyes on him, steady, unblinking. "This building," she continues, "I funded it." A few heads snap up. "The foundation hosting tonight's gala?" she adds. "Mine." Quietly, for years. The murmurs start low, uncertain, like people afraid to believe what they're hearing. Someone whispers her name, unsure if they've said it right. Another guest pulls out a phone, thumb already moving. The room fills with a soft glow of screens. At the edge of the table, the young guest stands abruptly, his chair scraping the floor. "Wait," he says, his voice breaking the hush. "Are you saying?" She nods once. Just once. "I am the majority shareholder." The millionaire's smile collapses completely. It's not slow. It's not graceful. It falls apart like a structure built on sand. The color drains from his face, leaving behind a pale, hollow look. His hand tightens around his glass, then loosens, unsure what to do with it. He looks around the room, searching for laughter, for reassurance, for someone to tell him this is a joke. No one does. Phones are out now. Screens light up faces with shock and disbelief. Fingers scroll. Names are typed. Articles load. Images appear. And there she is, the same woman standing in front of them, but dressed differently, standing at podiums, cutting ribbons, smiling beside city leaders, headlined with words that suddenly feel very loud. Billionaire, philanthropist, investor, owner, invisible by choice. A hush falls over the room, heavier than before. Not the silence of discomfort this time, the silence of realization. The manager swallows hard, his mouth opening and closing without sound. A woman near the window covers her lips with her hand. Someone else slowly lowers their phone, eyes wide. The millionaire stares at the card, then at her, then at the room. His mouth opens, closes, opens again. Nothing comes out. For the first time all night, the man who filled the space with his voice has none left. She steps closer to him, not towering, not aggressive, just close enough that he has to see her fully now, close enough that he can't hide behind distance or status. "Tonight," she says softly, "I wanted to see how people treat those they believe have nothing." Her words are gentle, but they land with weight. She looks around the room, her gaze sweeping over the guests, the tables, the glittering decorations. She takes in the faces that laugh, the faces that looked away, the faces that stayed silent. Then she looks back at him. "And you answered perfectly." The millionaire's throat works as he tries to speak. His lips tremble. His confidence, once so loud, has nowhere to stand. He reaches for a joke, for anger, for denial. None of it comes. The room watches him shrink, not physically, but in presence and certainty. For the first time in his life, money does not save him. He sees himself now, reflected in the eyes of everyone around him. He hears his own words, stripped of power, exposed for what they were. Cruel, small, lazy. She doesn't raise her voice. She doesn't humiliate him the way he humiliated her. She doesn't need to. The truth has already done the work. Around them, people shift in their seats, unsure where to look. Some feel shame. Others feel awe. A few feel fear, because they realize how easily they could have been him, how easily they might have laughed. The billionaire woman stands there in her uniform, still and composed, the same calm that unsettled him earlier now impossible to ignore. It wasn't weakness. It was control. The young guest watches her with something like reverence. He understands now. The lesson settles into his chest, heavy and clear. The millionaire finally finds his voice, but it's thin, barely there. "I didn't know," he manages to say. She tilts her head slightly. That's the point. The words echo. She turns away from him then, picking up the card and slipping it back into her pocket. No grand exit. No applause. Just a quiet reclaiming of space. As she walks toward the service corridor, the room parts for her without being asked. No one speaks. No one stops her. Behind her, the millionaire remains standing, surrounded by wealth that suddenly feels useless. He has never felt so exposed, so empty. And as the doors close softly behind her, one truth hangs in the air, unresolved and heavy. Power has shifted, and nothing in this room will ever feel the same again. The gala ends early, but no one announces it like a formal thing. It just happens the way storms end. 1 minute, the room is full of noise and heat and ego, and the next minute, people are quietly reaching for coats, avoiding each other's eyes, walking out like they've just seen something they can't unsee. The jazz music keeps playing for a few seconds, confused, like it didn't get the message. Then someone nods to the band, and the sound fades. The penthouse becomes a shell of itself. All the shine is still there, glass walls, city lights, gold trim, white tablecloths, but the spirit is gone. The power that used to bounce off the walls feels heavy now. Like guilt, the billionaire woman steps into the service corridor, away from the tables, away from the stairs. The hallway is quieter, lit with soft yellow lights. The floor here isn't marble. It's plain, clean, practical. She walks without rushing. Her face stays calm. Not proud, not angry, just steady. A server pushes a cart past her and stops for a second, eyes wide, unsure what to say. Another worker peeks out from behind a doorway, whispering, "Is it true?" The billionaire woman gives him a gentle nod. Not dramatic, not loud, just a small truth shared between people who know what it feels like to be overlooked. In a small staff room, she takes off the uniform shirt carefully, like it deserves respect. She hangs it up neatly. She folds the apron. She doesn't throw it in a corner like something dirty. There's no victory speech. No, I told you so. No public punishment. She doesn't walk back into the penthouse to collect applause from people who stayed silent. She doesn't need their claps. She keeps her dignity untouched. Like a glass of water, you don't spill even when someone bumps your shoulder. She changes into simple clothes. Dark coat, clean shoes, hair pulled back the same way. When she steps out again, she looks like someone you could pass on the street without noticing. That's how she prefers it. The power was never the point. The lesson was, back inside the penthouse, the millionaire is still standing at first, frozen in a space he no longer owns. He watches people leave, one after another. Some guests pretend to check their phones, like a message just came in that suddenly matters. Some avoid him like he's contagious. A couple people stop and say quick words that sound like comfort but feel like distance. Tough night. Misunderstanding. Don't worry, it'll blow over. He nods, but their words don't reach him. He's not hearing them. He's hearing his own voice. The way he snapped his fingers. The way he said, "You people." The way he made a toast about ambition while treating another human like a prop. When the last guests finally step into the elevator, the doors close with a soft, final sound. The kind of sound that feels like a judgment. The penthouse is quiet now, except for the low hum of the city outside. The staff moves in silence, clearing plates, collecting glasses, wiping tables. No one speaks to him. Not out of hate, out of knowing. They've seen men like him before. Men who think money makes them immune to shame. But tonight, they saw something different. They saw money fail. The millionaire slowly sits back down, like his legs suddenly forgot how to hold him. His chair makes a small scrape against the floor. He stares at the empty spot where the black card had been. He stares at his own hands. He feels small. Not because someone made him small, but because he finally sees how small he's been acting. His throat tightens. He wants to blame someone. The bartender. The manager. The situation. He wants to tell himself it was a joke. But the room is too quiet for lies. The city lights outside keep glowing. They don't care. They don't excuse him. They just watch. He stays there long after the staff is done. Long after the last tray is rolled away. Long after the last light is turned down. The manager approaches carefully, standing a few feet away. "Sir," he says, voice low, "we're closing up." The millionaire nods without looking up. He stands slowly and walks toward the elevator like a man walking out of a courtroom after a verdict. The next morning, the headlines explode. Clips from phones spread fast. The audio of his insult plays over and over. People pause the video, zoom in on faces, read lips, analyze reactions. The story becomes bigger than him. Not because people love drama, but because people recognize the truth in it. They've lived it. They've seen it. The world finally gets to watch what service workers deal with in private rooms, in expensive restaurants, in quiet corners where the powerful think no one will challenge them. Reporters reach out to the billionaire woman for a statement. They send emails. They call numbers. They beg for an interview. She gives nothing. No comment. No tweet. No press conference. Silence. Not because she's afraid, but because she refuses to turn dignity into entertainment. She refuses to become a character in someone else's story. She simply continues her work unseen like she always has. Weeks pass, and then quietly, without a ceremony, a donation appears. Massive. Anonymous. The kind of number that makes people blink and check again. The money goes straight into programs for service workers, scholarships for education, grants for small businesses, training programs for ownership and leadership, not handouts, ladders, not pity, power. People ask where it came from. Rumors fly, but there is no signature, no name in bold letters, just a simple note that says the funds are meant to restore dignity through opportunity. Service workers start talking. Not just online, but in break rooms and kitchens and late-night shifts. They speak about respect, about being seen, about how one moment in a penthouse reminded them that their labor is not their value. Their job is not their identity. They are people first. And the billionaire woman? She keeps moving the way she always has. Funding quietly, building quietly, watching quietly. She doesn't need to stand on a stage to prove anything. She already knows who she is. The uniform was never her prison. It was her choice. And that choice exposed something money could not hide. As for the millionaire, those who know him notice the change before the world does. It's small at first. He stops talking over people in meetings. He pauses before speaking. He listens. He asks questions instead of making speeches. When someone brings him coffee, he says thank you and actually looks them in the eye. When a waitress comes to his table, he doesn't snap his fingers. He doesn't call her sweetheart or girl. He calls her ma'am. He speaks like he remembers that she has a life outside the room. One day, months later, he walks into a diner alone. Simple place. Vinyl booths. Busy lunch crowd. A young black server comes to his table with a notepad. She smiles politely. "What can I get you?" she asks. And for a moment, his chest tightens. Not because he fears her, but because he fears himself. He remembers the penthouse, the laughter that died, the card on the table, the silence,